Really, you left me because I lacked ambition. I repeated, my voice trembling as I tried to grasp the irony of it all. It was one of those crisp autumn afternoons when every leaf seems to whisper secrets of change, and I found myself alone on a park bench, staring out into a world that had once been ours. My name is Ethan Rivera, and if someone had told me back then that the very trait for which she dismissed me would eventually become the bedrock of my success, and that she, of all people, would end up working for the brand I co-founded, I would have nearly laughed it off. But life has its uncanny ways, and the twists it offers can be as brutal as they are brilliant. I remember the day clearly. It was a quiet morning at our modest apartment in the heart of the city. I was busy preparing my usual routine, brewing coffee, tying my worn-out sneakers, when Sarah, the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, sat me down at the breakfast table. Her eyes, usually so full of warmth, were distant and unyielding. "Ethan," she said in a flat tone, "I need to be honest with you. I can't be with someone who has no ambition. I'm sorry, but I have to leave." Those words cut deep. It felt like every dream we'd ever shared was shattered in that moment. I tried to protest, tried to explain that ambition isn't only about flashy achievements, but about the quiet persistence that fuels every passion. But she wouldn't listen. "I need someone who's driven, someone who's constantly reaching for more, not someone content with mediocrity," she insisted before turning and walking out the door, leaving me in a silence so heavy I could hardly breathe. For weeks after that devastating morning, I wandered through a haze of disbelief and self-doubt. I replayed every conversation, every shared aspiration over and over in my mind. I scoured our old photos and mementos, desperately trying to pinpoint where I had fallen short. My friends tried to console me, saying things like, "Maybe you were too comfortable, Ethan. Maybe you really lacked that spark." Yet, deep down, a tiny ember of determination began to glow. I realized that maybe what I had been missing was not ambition itself, but the courage to pursue it with relentless faith. In my heart, I knew I had potential, ideas that were vibrant, dreams that were genuine, but I had been too afraid to fully step out into the world. Late one night, as I sat at my cluttered desk surrounded by crumpled sketches and notes on business ideas, I began to rethink everything. What if I could prove them wrong? I murmured to myself, my eyes scanning a discarded piece of paper on which I'd doodled a vision for a revolutionary eco-friendly lifestyle brand. An idea sparked within me, a daring notion that I would channel every ounce of rejection into a force of reinvention. I decided right then and there that I was going to create something extraordinary, something that would not only validate my worth but also redefine the very idea of ambition in my own terms. I spent the next few months buried in a whirlwind of creativity and sleepless nights. My modest apartment transformed into a makeshift office and studio. I dusted off a business plan I had once scribbled in my journal, filling in details with measured determination. I reconnected with old friends who had always believed in me even when I doubted myself, and I sought advice from mentors who had built their own paths in the industry. Every setback became a stepping stone, every lack of ambition metamorphosed into a rallying cry. The project that began as a spark evolved into a full-fledged brand. I teamed up with a talented entrepreneur who shared my vision for sustainable living and innovative products. Together, we founded Everrise Living, a company dedicated to merging style, sustainability, and smart living into everyday products. Every product we launched was infused with the spirit of resilience and relentless self-belief, the same spirit that had driven me to rise from the ashes of heartbreak. Then, as if life were determined to test the irony of fate, I received a call a few months later from our newly hired PR manager, informing me about an unexpected development. "Ethan, you won't believe this. Sarah contacted our head of communications today," she said with a note of disbelief in her voice. I frowned, wondering what could possibly have prompted her to reach out after all this time. "She wants a meeting," the PR manager continued. "Apparently, she's interested in our company. And get this, it seems she wants to work with us." I was stunned. The very woman who had left me, declaring that I wasn't ambitious enough, was now in a position to consider joining a brand I had helped to build. I recall staring at the ceiling that night, thoughts racing. How could she come to this realization so late? Had she finally seen the value in the life I'd built? Was it that she had run out of alternatives, or was it something more profound, a genuine change of heart? The meeting was scheduled for a brisk Tuesday afternoon in our glass-walled conference room, a space that had witnessed countless product launches and creative debates. My team and I were gathered around, the energy a mix of excitement and professional anticipation, when she arrived. Dressed sharply and with a subtle air of uncertainty, Saya's presence was hard to ignore. I greeted her with a polite, cautious smile. The conversation was tense at first. She apologized for her past words, admitting that she had been immature and that she misunderstood what ambition really meant. I thought ambition was about endless chasing, about never being content, she confessed. But I've learned that true ambition is about building something meaningful, something that lasts. I listened, my emotions a turbulent mix of unresolved hurt and reluctant empathy. The truth was, her arrival now, on the threshold of a company that I had co-founded, felt both surreal and fitting. It was as though the universe was offering her a chance to rewrite her own story, and perhaps, in doing so, salvage a part of the relationship we once shared. Our dialogue was raw, a conversation of reflections, regrets, and the possibility of forgiveness. While I wasn't ready to reconcile completely, I found that knowing her perspective allowed me to finally close that painful chapter of my life. As Sarah joined our team, at least in a consultative capacity, I couldn't help but notice the irony that now, after all these years, she was part of the very enterprise built on the foundation of ambition that she once accused me of lacking. I remained cautious, my professional resolve firm, yet I allowed myself a moment of quiet victory, a recognition that my journey was about proving not just to her, but to the entire world, that my ambitions were not only real but transformative. I had turned rejection into a catalyst, and every new product launch, every strategic decision, was a reaffirmation of my belief in the path I'd chosen. The transformation of Everise Living soon became the talk of the industry. Our innovative products, highlighting eco-friendly solutions without sacrificing style, captured the attention of major investors and media outlets alike. At a prestigious industry conference, as I stood on stage and delivered a keynote about sustainable innovation and authentic ambition, I recounted the story that many found to be the turning point of my career. I was once told that I lacked ambition, that I'd never make it without someone else's validation, I said, voice ringing with conviction. But today, I stand before you as a testament to the power of self-belief. I built this brand, piece by piece, against all odds. And sometimes, the very doubts of others become the sparks that ignite your greatest triumphs. The audience erupted in applause, a mix of admiration and validation, and in that moment, I felt as though every harsh word, every dismissive remark, had led me exactly where I needed to be. Even Sarah, seated in the front row, looked on with a conflicted expression. It was clear that while the wounds of the past still lingered, time had a way of healing and teaching us the true essence of ambition. In the months that followed, as Everise Living grew into a thriving business, I kept a small, private corner of my heart for reflection. I wrote extensively in my journal and on my blog, Ambition Reclaimed, where I talked openly about the complexities of love, ambition, and the painful lessons learned when dreams collide with reality. I realized that ambition isn't about outward bravado or relentless competition. It's about the quiet determination to build something meaningful out of every drop of sweat, every tear, every moment of self-doubt. It's about transforming those very criticisms into fuel for your success. I began mentoring young entrepreneurs, many of whom were haunted by similar voices telling them they weren't enough, that they would never succeed without a mentor's guiding hand. Your true ambition is yours to define, I would say, and sometimes, the only way to prove your worth is to let every negative remark be the building block of your future. Those words resonated with them, and I saw the spark of self-belief light up in their eyes. As I navigated this ever-evolving journey, I occasionally wondered about the what ifs with Sarah. Could we have had a different outcome if honesty had prevailed earlier? Had we been more open about our insecurities, perhaps our paths wouldn't have diverged so sharply. But now, watching her work on certain projects and hearing her tentative apologies for past mistakes, I realized that some chapters are meant to close, allowing new ones to begin. My focus remained on the future, on the brand we were building, a future that was not defined by outdated accusations but by new, dynamic ideas and relentless perseverance. Today, as I sit in my spacious office overlooking the bustling city, a symbol of all the hard work and resilience that had brought Everise Living to life, I reflect on the journey that began with someone telling me I lacked ambition. I see now that her words, though once sharp enough to cut deep, were nothing more than a challenge that I rose to meet. I transformed every hurdle into an opportunity, every doubt into a declaration of self-worth. And while the past will always whisper reminders of where I came from, it no longer dictates the horizon ahead. So, to anyone out there who's ever been told they are not ambitious enough, that they are destined to remain in the background, forever dependent on others, I say this, your ambition is an unyielding fire that can light the darkest night. Let every dismissive word be the fuel that propels you forward. Build your dreams, craft your own destiny, and know that your worth is defined not by the opinions of others, but by the strength you muster to carve your own path. This is my story, a testament to what happens when you take rejection, transform it into determination, and let every negative remark become the cornerstone of your future. I was once labeled as someone who lacked ambition, someone whose dreams were too small to succeed on their own. But I proved that the truth of ambition isn't measured by the voices around you, but by the strength in your heart and the courage to build something enduring from the ashes of doubt. And as I look back now, with every new project, every celebration of success, I can't help but smile at the irony that led me here, at the man whose words once tried to confine me now echoing as a distant memory, while I stand tall, a living proof that true ambition is an art all its own. Your dreams are waiting, so step forward, build your lane, pave it, and let the world marvel at the tollbooth of your triumphs.